Welcome to Patient Profiles. In this video, we are going to discuss how to build a listing table. The listing table that we will build is a medical history table. So once the data set is loaded into the program, as you can see it is right here, the first thing we will do is add a listing table row, and we do that just by clicking the New Row button and selecting Listing Table Row. Next, we need to decide which variables to include in our listing table. So the first column will be the diagnosis term, and we just drag that variable over to the first button. And next we're going to put the diagnosis date. As you can see, we've got a few options for the date variables. We're going to select this character date so that we can see the dates that are partial as well as the full dates. So we drag that over to column 2, and then we change the data type to be a date variable. And next we're going to include is the diagnosis active variable and the resolution date. Once again, we're going to choose the character version so that we can see the partial dates. And we'll change the data type to be a date and drag that over to column 4. And finally, we're going to include the preferred term. So we can toggle over to report view and see how that is shaping up. So as you can see right here, these are the partial dates. We've just got slashes where the month and the day should be. And so there are a few things that we can do to make this just a little aesthetically more pleasing. We can come into options right here, and the first thing that we're going to do is change the date format. We're going to choose this format right here, and we're going to add an imputed dates indicator. We'll just type in UNK, and then instead of these blank spaces appearing, it'll say UNK for month and date. And we are going to also check off the Show Data Columns in Patient Selector, and we're going to change our header alignment to be left. We click OK, and then we click to Design View and then back to Report View, and we can see all of those changes. So now we can see our data set name and the number of records per patient. We can see that our header is aligned on the left-hand side, and we see our imputed dates indicator right here. We're going to come back over into Design View and make a few more changes. The first thing that we're going to do is give the table a name. So we'll change it to Medical History. And then we're going to also give the table a name right here. And you can see that that's reflected up here in the Profile Layout window. Next, we're going to scroll down and add some printed grid lines just to add some more differentiation between the different rows of the medical history table. And finally, we're going to make some changes to the colors. So we're going to change the text color to black, and we're going to change the back color to be blue. And we can see up here that those changes have been made. And then we'll scroll down here, and we're going to decrease the font size of the subheader just by clicking here and decreasing the number. And we want it to be italicized, and we're going to make the gray just a little bit lighter. We can also increase the column sizes by clicking on a column name and clicking this plus button. So we'll increase the size for the diagnosis term and also the preferred term. And now we're going to change the column names just by typing in the text box. So we'll type diagnosis there, diagnosis date, and we'll type active diagnosis in here. And change this column title to resolution date, and here preferred term. So when we come over to report view, we see that the color of the table has been changed. We see the changes that we made to the subheaders. And we're going to come back here and make a few more changes. We'd like this to be sorted chronologically as opposed to alphabetically as it is right now. And we'd like to highlight a few rows. And we'd also like to change the caps lock on the diagnosis. So we come over here to Design View, and the first thing that we're going to do is change that the diagnosis terms all being in capital letters. So we click on that variable, and then we click on this A right here, and it changes all of these from being fully capitalized to just having the first letter of each word capitalized. And next we're going to come over here and change our sort column to be column 2, which is where the diagnosis date is listed. And finally, we're going to highlight the rows where the diagnosis is active. So we click that highlight rows button. We come in here, select our medical history data set, and then we find this diagnosis active variable and check off yes. So we will highlight the yes rows. Click enable, and then we're going to change how those highlighted rows appear. We want them to still be a 9-point font, and we don't want them to be bolded. We'd like the text to be red and the back color to be white. And when we come over here into report view, we can see all of those changes reflected. Now our diagnosis terms are all listed by their diagnosis date, and we can see that the active diagnoses are all highlighted in red, and we no longer have all capital letters for these terms right here.